Welcome to Act Out. I'm Eleanor Goldfield, and this is your tipping point, and it's really loud today, so I apologize. Progress seems to be a bit like treason. It really depends which side you're on. For example, it's in the name of progress that our president and about 600 corporate lawyers are negotiating a multinational trade deal whose only leaked chapters speak of little trade, certainly no deal for the 99%. It's in the name of treason that Edward Snowden is sitting thousands of miles away from home after informing the public that our government took George Orwell's 1984 as a training guide. And it is in the name of progress that the Eurozone has squeezed and bled countries like Greece, claiming that austerity is the only way forwards in the current economic system. Well, that might be true, but then the question really is, if gutting a country's livelihood, starving their social programs and people is the only way that your economic system can sustain itself, why don't you just change the fucking system? After 5 years of austerity, the answer to that question has begun to surface. For those of you following us, or really anyone else on social media, you will have noticed that last week Greece voted Oxy, aka no, to increased austerity, a move that leaves their future in the Eurozone hanging by a gossamer thread, as The Guardian so eloquently put it. Gossamer thread or no, the fact that European capitalists were unable to fearmonger the Greek people into submission is significant. The fact that the Greek people have stood up and said enough is incredibly significant. By no means is the road ahead easy or clear. If Greece does leave the Eurozone, it could wreak havoc on their own economy, and such a crash would send more than a few lapping ripples through the rest of Europe. On the other hand, if they stay, some sort of compromise in negotiations must be met and made. So how do the anti-capitalists negotiate with the uber-capitalists? How does progress for the people continue its fight against progress for the rich sociopaths? That remains to be seen. Even as we film this, people are shuffling and scrambling, and by the time you watch this, some agreements might already have been made. And for fuck's sake, we gotta pay attention. Greece might feel like some distant country best known for ouzo and naked Olympians, but it is in fact, like the damn butterfly, a metaphor, a really stark and straight parallel to our country. To the fight against capitalist cronies, to the power of the people, to the danger of apathy in the midst of a fucking liquidation of rights, livelihoods, and futures. But hell, don't take that from only me. I'm just as much of an outsider as you are. Here to tell us a bit more about what's happening in Greece, the parallels, implications, and meaning of it all, is artist Lane Collage, an aptly titled collage artist whose amazing collages first caught my eye long before I heard talk of a Greek referendum. Her expert ability to take tiny pieces of ads, vapid marketing, and mindless consumerism, and turn them into something powerfully beautiful, soaked in meaning and contemplation, is fucking awesome. Originally, I considered showing you her art interview separate from the political one, and then realized, well, that's absurd. Isn't this a show about creative activism? And although her art is not your typical overtly political fare, her use of these sliced bits of consumerism, coupled with her clear awareness of politics, speaks perfectly to the idea that creative activism isn't always overt. It isn't always a slap in the face. It can be a rainy walk through the city. Take a look. So you take these pieces from ads. So you're literally making art from advertising. So the way that I see it, and I wanted to see if this is what you meant by it, you're repurposing these advertisements for, mindless things like bags and clothes. You're repurposing it and making it into something that is meaningful and deeper. Is that part of the message there?
Well, my message is how can I put this? I try to use different shapes of pieces, different shades of colors, because when we see each piece, it's unique and original from the just one. But when you look the whole picture, then you can understand the uniformity and the balance that comes off. It's the same with our lives. We don't have to be the same and boring persons every day. We have to be multicolored, multidimensional. That's what I'm trying to imprint in my work.
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating that you put out that message of multi-dimensional by using something that's very flat, single dimension, and obviously like the idea of consumerism is very vapid and flat, and you're creating something far more deep by doing that. Is there anything that you've seen in the recent events in because you're Greek? Is there anything that you've seen in the recent events in Greece that have inspired any ideas for collages?
Uh, right now, uh, I'm making collages based in people that you meet out in the street. For example, like a musician. When you see a musician in the street playing a guitar or another instrument, you barely see people dancing around him. They were all walking and nobody paid attention to the music. So I changed. I have a specific class like this with a musician, and I changed it. I made around the musician people dancing. So I try to imprint in the collage what I would like to see. And I'm in the start of that, so I have to make more works about that now. This is what I'm working now.
So I was wondering what other ideas do you have besides the musician in terms of things that you'd like to see out in the streets, so to speak?
Homeless, kids, uh, lovers, uh, activists, protests.
Speaking of activists and protests, have you talk a little bit about what's been happening in Greece right now because you're obviously there. How is it to actually be in the thick of it, so to speak?
Well, the problem with Greece, I like to speak about that. Okay. Um, the problem in Greece started when Greece entered the monetary union of Euro. So Greece didn't fulfill the requirements for that. The Greek government back then knew it. The European partners knew it, but they didn't stop it. Why? So it's very easy to speak about the Greek problem, especially when someone lives very far from Greece. I think my opinion is that the banks wrecked the Greek government and deliberately pushed it to debt, to unsustainable debt, so that the international corporations can profit from this chaos and misery that we are living now. These loans are not just simple loans. They are loans that come with very specific strings attached with that demand privatization. Is that right? Privatization of our country assets, and Greece has many unexploited assets. Last Sunday we had a referendum when, for the first time, a Greek government asked the people, us, to vote if we want to have more austerity in our country or no. And 61% of the people voted for no. And this referendum was really it was something good because for the first time, uh, people powered has happened here in Greece, and this doesn't happen often.
No, and it's been very inspiring to people all over the world that the people can rise up and say what they want against like you said these international corporations that are pushing Greece into debt and well the U.S. and so many other countries as well. What's happening next in terms of the people? What are the people asking for next, and what's the next step?
The next step is up to our government. We just don't agree with more austerity. We have tried austerity. We have listened to German, to our European partners, austerity doesn't work. It's very stupid to believe that austerity can save Greece because until now, austerity doesn't seem to reduce debt. Actually, it has the opposite results. You know, the last 6 years, Greece has experienced various degrees of austerity. That means that 25% people are unemployed. More than 10,000 people have committed suicide because they couldn't handle this situation. So we want something alternative from austerity. This government seems to have alternative solutions, but our European partners don't want to discuss them. I don't know why.
Well, because they're getting their money from the corporations and don't want to let go of that power.
Yes, I believe that too. So always the poor uh, become poorer and the rich become richer. That's always the same, I think, in every country, not only Greece. It's Spain, it's Portugal, it's Ireland. There are a lot of countries. And I want to be fair. Um, no, the European Union has made a lot of problems were caused by the behavior of the European Union. But as I told you, I want to be fair, so I have to tell you that Greek people have made mistakes too. For example, Greek citizens voted for many years corrupted politicians. Young people were apathetic with politics. A lot of them, most of them, preferred not to vote. Journalists knew that this economical crisis was coming and they didn't speak about it. So, in other words, we fell asleep as a nation. And when you fell asleep in a democracy, you woke up one day and you have to deal with an economical crisis.
Yeah, and not just an economic crisis, but a social crisis, as you mentioned, with unemployment and people committing suicide. And I think that's a great parallel to what you're seeing in the States, people falling asleep. And it's a powerful message of caution to see what's happened in Greece and see that's where we're headed as well.
Yes, and Greece problem is not so far from other countries. So if I have to give an advice to other citizens, is be active. Uh, don't think that this is so far away from your country. It can happen to any country if you stay apathetic with politics.
Before moving on, here is this week's latest update from Lane. For more information on Lane's work, check out lanecollage.gr.